Hey everyone, welcome to another really important episode of Bros Who Know. I'm Dr. Jeff LaCure. You can check me out on drjefflacure.com. And once again, I'm here with the big dog himself, Dr. Richard Yancey, from 8 different universities. And I got to tell you, folks, and if you saw the end of our last podcast, you know I was almost moved to tears when I was talking about what we're going to talk about today, which is, I don't even think it's necessarily the rise in anti-Semitism. I think the mask has come off and all the anti-Semites are feeling free to espouse and or to expose and to just talk freely about their vitriol and hate. And as I shared with you last week, I never, ever, ever thought we'd be at this point in our country where our Jewish brothers and sisters have to worry about a repeat of the 1930s and the 1940s. Never thought I'd see it. I mean, sincerely, never thought I'd see it. Never thought I'd see people so boldly, so proudly, so smugly talking about their hate of our Jewish brothers and sisters in this country. Other countries, I'm not surprised. But in this country, I'm shocked. I want to show you, Rich and I want to show you a video that Stand Up Against Jewish Hate, the organization actually funded by Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, has put together. Take a look at this brief ad and take a look at some of the statistics. If it doesn't move you to tears, I question your humanity. Take a look. So, Rich, here's, you saw the video. Let me just throw the numbers out to you, even though I know you saw it. So, in the United States, 2.4% of our entire population are identifying as Jewish. 2.4%. Yet, as the video highlights, 55% of all hate crimes against any specific religion, 55% happens to our Jewish brothers and sisters. When you see that, and we'll come back to some other things that the video highlighted, but when you see that, Rich, only 2.4% of the population, 55% of all religious hate crimes, posts, spray paint, violence is against our Jewish brothers and sisters. What do you notice? What do you experience when you see that yourself, Rich?
Well, I only see it through social media, because I'm talking Newton has a lot of Jewish people. Wellesley has some, but we have a lot of areas. Brookline,
Absolutely.
we have a lot of areas that there's a large community of Jewish people. It's sad to hear. Reason why, because you said it, you hit the nail on the head. I'm talking, they're our brothers and sisters. But like I said, it's one of those things where because they're at war right now, they're on the forefront of this hatred. But when we had the coronavirus, Chinese people were in the forefront of the hatred. So I'm telling you, you're always going to have that curve of hatred to whatever is going on at that time. Of course, they always had a certain percentage of hatred to Jewish people, okay? but I think it spiked right now because of
it's
the
spiked.
situation. Okay.
Yeah, actually, the video highlighted that it's gone up since the Hamas terrorist
Right.
organization. That's what they are. They're an organization. They're very organized, funded by Iran, which we gave $6 billion to. We'll talk about that later. uh, since October 7th in our country, according to Bob Kraft's organization. So I think there's a lot of validity and authenticity to it. He's in no position to make up statistics. They're proven statistics.
And he's Jewish as well.
That's right. Gone up 388%. So almost four
Right.
times in our country, Rich.
And that's why I said so. Because of what's going on, because like the problem that we have is that we're dependent on the social media, okay, and what social media does or news, right? Any of those platforms, what they do is they kind of they show whatever side that they want to show.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on if you're watching Fox or CNN,
Mm-hmm.
and people, instead of making their own decisions on their own through facts, they just assume that what they're hearing is correct.
That's right.
And that kind of like, that's going to influence, the behaviors of most of the people in America of how they're going to act.
And what you're highlighting is spot on, Rich. A recent study just showed that people under the age of 30 get the majority of their information from social media. TikTok, not a sponsor, and you shouldn't be on it, period. It's produced by the Chinese Communist government, but from social media. And 9 out of every 10 news stories are pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, and anti-Jew. And only 10% are pro-Israel and pro our Jewish brothers and sisters. So the uninformed, the ignorant, which I think most people under 30 are, quite frankly, because of where they get their information, are seeing stuff, these little micro bursts of information, and they're going, oh my goodness, boy, Israel is just some tyrannical government and blah, blah, blah. And that's not the case. As a matter of fact, as the video highlighted, Rich, there's 16.1 million Jews in the entire world. That's 0.02% of the 8 billion world population, right? Less than 0.25%.
Right.
Right? And the majority of Jews live in America. There's about 7.5 million live in America, and 7.2 million actually live in Israel. When you look at the entire population of New York and all the boroughs, there's more people living in New York than there are in Israel.
Right. Well, so that's substantial, and I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to stick together at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you feel like the whole world is against you,
Absolutely.
right, you have to have some kind of unity, and you have to have a strong army. You have to have tremendous resolve.
Yeah.
Like you have to become supernatural at that point, because otherwise you could disappear like that.
That's right.
So,
And when did that happen, Rich?
well, we already know,
Right?
Yeah.
The Holocaust and
was,
Hitler
right.
killed 6 million Jews.
And if you put it in perspective, that's a huge hit.
Oh my God, right?
That's a huge
I mean,
hit.
6 people is too many, but
Right.
6 million, and his goal was
Right.
to eradicate. Imagine that.
Right.
And the interesting thing, you talk about social media, and you're spot on, Rich. And as the video clip highlights, every year, so even before October 7th, every year on social media, there are on average, 70,000 posts that say, and I quote, Hitler was right. And that's in our country.
Right.
70,000. Now, before October 7th, I guarantee, Rich, a lot of people didn't know that it was 70,000 people.
Right.
Posting Hitler was right. That's like saying slavery was right.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That genocide is a good thing.
Well, so that's where the problem lies, though, because of social media and because of all these, the platform out there. There's so much. See, people don't understand perception is huge. We always talk about perception.
That's right.
All right. So, someone who's not Jewish can people that are not Jewish, they have their own perception of, how a Jewish person is or how they live their life, right? And that perception is not true. They haven't lived that life. They can only assume how that life is.
Mm-hmm.
people in America, they don't know how it feels to be in Israel with bombs going off all over the place.
Imagine
Right?
that.
We just see we see something without our. We have like so many different sensories, right? We only visually see something going on through the TV or through whatever,
Hmm.
whatever way that we see them or hear them, but we don't feel it. Like we don't touch it. We're not there. We're not talking amongst the other people there. We don't have that fear like they do. Like when the sirens go off and you have to run
And
in the
hide.
basement and hide. Like we
Hmm.
don't, so we pass judgment on
Hmm.
things that we don't even know really what's going on there.
Well, it's happened to us twice.
Right.
World War II, right? The Japanese imperial.
Yeah, but we weren't there. We're talking about the
No,
new
but
one.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, when they attacked, surprise attacked, Pearl Harbor,
Right. We dropped the
and our
atomic bomb.
president declared war the very next day. We didn't take a pause. I never call it 9/11. Abbreviations drive me nuts, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
When September 11th happened and the
Mm-hmm.
terrorist attack on the Twin Towers and on the Pentagon and could have been worse even, you know what Israel didn't do? They didn't ask our country to take a pause. Take a pause as you go hunting for the people who funded this terrorist activity.
Right.
But yet, our own president is now saying to Israel,
Right.
hey, Israel, look, we got you back. Wink, wink. And we know what the terrorists did. Remember what terrorists did to
Mm-hmm.
us. But we'd like you to take a pause now,
Okay.
right? Israel never asked us after September
Right.
11th to take a pause. You know what
So
Israel did? Israel
just-
said, hey, guess what, U.S.?
right.
We got you back.
So listen, what I'm about to say and what I would do is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when we talk about things, right, I'm just giving you both sides, or I'm giving you an idea of both sides. Okay, so but that doesn't mean I would execute the way I'm. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
My
that you're
execution would be totally. It could be the same as Israel if I was Israel.
you're
Okay,
presenting
but-
maybe the other side of the argument.
Well,
I get, right?
I'm presenting what is, and what is this: Hamas hides behind their own. Okay, so you take two people, two Palestinians, right?
Mm-hmm.
One's Hamas and one's just a normal Palestinian that just wants to go to work and try to
That's
feed his
it.
family, right?
Good family.
But when you have two Palestinians, you don't know which one there is.
Mhm.
When you wage war on them, you got to kill both
Frequently
because
happens,
you
doesn't
don't know which one it is. So
Mhm.
the reason why they should take a pause is because of this. There's a difference between going there surgically and removing Hamas, which is going to take more money. It has to be planned out longer, right?
Mhm.
Because how are you going to figure that out? You have two Palestinians, one could be Hamas and one's not, right? You got to take out just the Hamas.
Mhm.
The problem is that Hamas doesn't have, since they're a terrorist group, they don't wear uniforms. So we knew Japan. So Japan blew up over here. They're soldiers. They wore their uniform. So when we went and we fought Japan, we fought the soldiers. I'm talking, that's.
Mhm.
But Hamas is a terrorist group that scares everybody there, right? So surgically, you can go in, and it's going to take more money, and it makes no sense because it's impossible to find out you from me. If we're both Palestinian, you won't know who's Hamas, right?
I know if the dude's got a gun,
Well, I'm just saying. But if we both don't have guns, we don't know who's Hamas.
but if
right?
a dude's got a gun and
Right.
he's pointing
But
at
this
me,
is what I'm saying.
now
So,
I know who he is.
So you have two things going on. You could surgically remove Hamas, or you say, listen, if you hide behind your people,
Mhm.
then you're the reason why your people is going to die, and then you just do a mass bombing.
Can I tell you the irony to that, though, Rich?
What's that?
When we, after September 11th, and we said certain countries were behind it, we killed a lot of civilians too.
Oh, no, listen. First of all, anytime you go into war, there's gonna be
That's
civilians.
exactly right.
But
That's
you want
exact-
the percentage. It's all about
But
percentage.
no
You want
one,
the percentage to go down.
Israel didn't ask us to pause when we killed.
No,
See, you
no,
can't.
no.
The days of surgical strikes with terrorism. I mean, you can get a terrorist, right?
Right.
Trump took out whatever his name was, one of the big leaders there, ISIS. Man, that was a surgical. That was precision. They were
Right, that's precision,
Right.
yeah, right.
They were in the big room at the White House, and they watched his Jeep get blown up.
Right.
That's surgical. But for most terrorists now, it's and they're going and they're searching and they're
Right.
doing. Bottom line is, if Hamas put up the white flag right now, if they put up the white flag right now and said, "We're done. No more terrorism. We're not lobbing any more
That's
rockets
not
into
going to
you.
happen.
Exactly,
Well,
and,
that's
and
not
that's
gonna.
why
I'm
we
gonna tell,
can't
see,
we
that's
can't
what
do
I'm.
surgical strikes.
Okay, but this is what I'm saying. So everything's relative, right?
Yeah.
That's like every. We have laws about stealing, right? We have the worst. So say we have, it's mandatory 25 years if you steal something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like saying all the robbers are going to put up a white flag and say, I'm not going to rob anymore. Or all the killers,
Nah, it's
all the
different.
rapists.
This one's
No,
different.
but what I'm saying is
This
that,
one's different.
what I'm saying is, no, it's not different. I'll tell you why it's not different. It's a constant.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to have terrorism. There's never going to be a place on this planet where one day you're going to wake up and there's no terrorism. It's not going
Put
to
it
happen.
this way.
So this,
We're
let me
in
finish-
Milford, though,
right?
right?
Right.
We're in Milford.
Let me just finish my thought
If
first.
Hopedale started lobbing bombs at Milford, are we going to sit
No,
back
no,
and
no,
go,
no,
no?
See, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, when you execute something, you got to know why you're executing it.
They're
What I'm saying
very
is you
clear
have
why
two-
they're executing.
Right. What I'm saying is, there's two ways you can do this. Right.
Mhm.
They picked the first option, which is we just have to take out Gaza
But first, what did they do? They
What did
said Gaza. They dropped leaflets. They sent out everything and said, "We're coming."
Well, you have to do that. That's part of.
No, a lot of countries don't do it. Israel at least did it.
There's when you're in war, there's rules of engagement. That's part of the rules of engagement.
They're following them.
Right. No, I'm not. So listen, I'm not saying what they did was wrong. What I'm telling you is that when you're a commander in chief and you have to execute something big like going to war, you have options. And what I'm saying, one of the options is you can go in there surgically and remove them, which is really not an option because it's hard to do that, right?
Yeah,
or you
can't
could
do
do what they're doing now. Now, I'm not saying they should have went there surgically. What I'm saying to you is that when you pick option one, this is what you do though. Even if you got rid of 80% of the population there, right? When unless you get rid of Gaza, period, and you just take over Gaza, whatever's remaining is so much hatred there that all you did was you just recreated new Hamas and stronger Hamas, because the hatred there, there's always a balloon payment. We talked about that. The balloon payment to this is that if Israel gets their way, right?
Let's
every
hope they do.
Muslim. Okay, but See, the thing about me has nothing to do with my feelings, right? It has to do with what is, and the balloon payment. The balloon payment is that if Israel does what it does, right? And I'm not saying that they're wrong for doing it. I'm just telling you the balloon payment of doing it. Every Muslim on the planet is going to want them dead. That's just the reality.
They already want them
I
dead,
understand
Rich.
that, but
They
what I'm
already
saying
want
to
them
you
dead.
is, what I'm saying to you is
They're not more angry at them
no,
now,
but what I'm
Rich.
saying to you is that you're not changing anything.
You absolutely.
Do you see what I'm saying? What I'm saying is,
Rich, it's no different what
Right.
we did with ISIS,
Okay,
right? We
well,
said,
listen.
ISIS, if you're going to keep doing all this kind of weird shit, we are going to seek you out and we're going to eradicate you as much as we can, and there will be civilian casualties.
Okay, listen, I'll tell you what I would do.
Yeah.
Right? What I would do say if I had a problem with a terrorist group, right? What I would do is I would put a bounty on all their heads.
100%.
No, listen, I'll put a bounty
I
on all
agree
their
with
heads,
you.
right?
Yeah.
And I would never kill the civilians, and I would tell the civilians they have a safe, if they don't want that, come over to us.
And
when
see,
they
that
come
didn't
over, listen,
happen, right?
I'm gonna tell you something. I would give them incentive to come over to us, and then I would bomb the shenanigans out of that place.
Yeah.
So I'm a smart guy. Like listen,
But you got to kill the head of the snake. Where's the
no,
head of
but
the snake?
what I'm saying to you is, no one refuses money, brother. Okay, no one refuses. You know what I mean? Like, instead of killing, like when you do a blanket thing, what's going on right now, little babies are dying. So this is so I'm gonna give it to I'm gonna do a flip side for you. I'm gonna tell you what the balloon payment is on both sides. This is a religious war. Make no mistakes. About
Absolutely
that.
it
Okay, so
is.
you have Israel and you have the Muslims. Okay, what's the irony of the whole thing is they both believe in a higher power.
Isn't that
But
ironic?
yet they're both killing babies and kids. Both sides are
difference.
paying.
There's a
It doesn't
difference there,
matter.
Rich.
It's
If you're
it doesn't-
defending
it doesn't-
yourself,
no,
it's
no,
different,
listen,
Rich.
it's not. Listen, let me
It's
tell you
very
something.
different.
When it comes to the eyes of God, it doesn't matter, brother.
It
It's a
does
baby.
matter. You
No,
have
it's
a right
baby.
to defend yourself, Rich.
Listen, I didn't. Okay, so the thing is, I have a right to defend myself too.
That's right.
Right, and I'm going to do it knowing what I'm doing, though.
No,
Like,
you're not.
Yes, I am.
Someone comes at your daughter. What are you doing?
No, listen. So I'm going to
Are
tell
you
you
going
what
to
I
take a
did.
pause?
No, okay. So this one, no. I'm going to
Right?
tell you what I'm going to do. So in a situation like that, like say if someone breaks into my house, right, and I have my little daughter there, right,
Which is exactly what
okay, so
Hamas
listen,
did
I'm gonna
in
tell you. I'm
Israel.
gonna tell you. Listen.
Yep.
Listen. I'm not mad at him because I'm gonna tell you why I'm not. Listen. I'm gonna tell you. I'm not mad at him because there's plenty of him. If it's not my house, it'll be somebody else's house. It could be your house. Okay, he just picked my house, but it could have been it. So it's not personal.
Oh, it's
Okay?
personal with me.
Well, it's not personal, so let me finish. Let me finish my case. I'm not mad at this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make a decision, though.
Mm-hmm.
And the decision is I right now have to take a life, a human life, which is a huge responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm taking a human life because I don't want the potential of something happening to my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's
Now,
right.
when I execute that plan, make no mistake, I did take a human life.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether that's right or wrong, I'll be judged when I pass away. But
Mm-hmm.
I made that decision knowing what I was doing. I didn't make that decision saying that he's not a human being now and I'm not taking a life.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is, on both sides, even America, when in any war,
Mm-hmm.
when you kill a child, you kill a child.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the reasoning is. The fact is, you kill a child. Now, can you justify that? Yes, you have to justify that. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that you have to call a spade a spade. If you kill a child, and what I'm saying to you is, if it's a religious war, right? That's going against like what you would believe. Like if you believe in a higher power, then they should be able to get along because you don't want to kill a child. You don't want to harm like innocent people. Okay, but for some reason, us human beings, we ruin everything.
Now look historically.
Right.
Israel has never come out and said we want the eradication of Muslims.
No.
They have said we'd love to live peacefully, stop throwing rockets and other shit into our country, quite frankly.
Right.
They're not lobbing missiles into civilian communities just randomly, right? And the irony is, and I'll try to pop the video on there, on the March on Washington. God, I love that, man. Our country's going down real fast. The pro-Palestine march. But really it wasn't pro-Palestine, it was anti-Israel, and there's a difference. There were some signs that said queers for Palestine. How absolutely ignorant are our 20-somethings who are on TikTok, not a sponsored, stop watching them, for not even thinking for a moment that in the extreme Muslim community, at the top of the list of people they hate, right? Christians and Jews are like 1B and 1C. But you know who they hate the most? You know who the number one infidel is? Homosexuals. That's the number one, right? More than they hate Jews, more than they hate Christians. Now remember, not all Muslims. We're talking about extreme, really extreme Muslim ideology. And yet we got people who aren't educated, Rich, who are marching on Washington, carrying a sign going, queers for Palestine,
Right.
understanding or not understanding that if that Hamas faction ever ran the world, they'd be the first dead,
Well, see,
right?
so,
They'd
you
be
know,
the first
yeah.
dead.
So we're talking about so many different things. So that's like again, people are brainwashed. But
Mhm.
okay, so okay, so what I just said earlier, okay, it doesn't. So, of course, the Jewish people should be able to protect their country.
100%.
Yeah, it's
100%.
110%. But what I'm saying to you is that it's when you have two religions that believe in a higher power and they want to do good, but yet bad things come out of it. It's still a sad situation.
Well, the extremes, there's no good coming out of it, Rich.
Well, the thing is, so you at the, so look, I know Muslims and I know Jewish people, and I have friends of both, and Muslim people are great people. Jewish people are great people. Their belief, they have a belief of their higher power, and they really believe.
But they're not great because they're Jew or Muslim, Rich.
No, they're great people. That's
They're
what I said.
just,
They're
right,
great
they're just
people.
great people.
Right, but they
who
have
happen to
okay,
be
but they
Jewish
have
or
two
Muslim.
different perceptions.
Right, because you and I aren't great because we're Christian.
No, but what I'm saying to you is no. What I'm saying to you is when you have Jewish people, they're just people, and they're great, and you have Muslim people that are just people, they're great. They have two different ideas, okay? They have two different religions, right? And they believe in their religions. Now they don't believe that they're doing anything wrong. Like there's not even the Muslims don't believe that they're doing it.
What do you mean
wrong.
they don't believe they don't do anything?
Okay, when they go and they kill themselves and they think they're going to paradise, they don't think they're going to hell. They think they're going to heaven. So they're believing that what they're doing, right, is correct. It's right. Even though I don't believe that it's right, you don't believe that it's right.
Mass
but
shooter
that
up
person,
in Maine believed he was right.
That's what I'm saying. But look, that's why I said, look.
But
That's
if
why
he's
I
a
was
Christian, he doesn't represent
well,
Christianity.
that's okay. So we go to the basic thing. So there is no such thing as right or wrong. There's only perception. That's what it made. I'll give you an example.
Hmm.
If people believe that you wearing those shoes
These
right
are
now,
cool
right?
shoes too.
If you wearing those shoes, that you're committing a crime.
Hmm.
If 90% of the population believe that you should go to jail because you're wearing those shoes, guess what? You're going to jail because you're wearing those
And
shoes.
guess which country would support that?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Not Israel,
Yeah, but
not America.
well, it doesn't. What I'm saying to you, perception is a very strong thing.
That's right.
Perception
And the perception
is
in
the
many of the
truth.
Muslim world communities are women are second-class citizens. They got to cover their face,
Right.
right? You can't dress, you can't show skin. If you are suspected of having an affair on your husband, you get stoned to death.
Right.
And so, yes, there's a right and
Okay.
a wrong. It's not a
Right.
perception,
There is
Rich.
a perception. I'm gonna tell you what. Okay. So look. So there's a balloon payment for that,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff. We have freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet our divorce rate is what 40, 50%,
60-something now.
60-something%. You think that is in Iran? There's no divorce. I'm telling you, their divorce rate is small. There's a balloon payment for that.
Well,
what
you
just
know
said.
why
So
it's
listen,
small?
let me finish.
She can't
so
leave.
let me finish, right? Let's look up the AIDS epidemic here opposed to Iran. I guarantee you our AIDS epidemic is a lot more higher than in Iran. I mean, in Iran, yeah. Let's look at.
I'd like
all
to
right,
see-
so let's
I'd
look
like
at
to
this.
see
Let's,
that number,
let's,
though.
let's look at this. We'll look at how many people are. They don't know who they are. They're just a they. I guarantee you, there's not a lot of theys over there in Iran.
But what's your point on that one,
My
Rich?
point is that there is no absolute of anything. Like there's all perception is the truth, because they have a long history. Even if they're wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say if Iran had a long history of having the women dress a certain way, doing this, doing that, it's still a culture, and that culture, okay, over time is going to beat a freedom culture, because over time we don't know what we are. We become a they. We become, we question everything. We don't have any unity. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I'll give you an example, right? Right now, if they said that you and I have to go into war, we'd be like, no, we're not. Like, I'm just saying, if you and I, like, you got to dress
Right.
up, you wouldn't do it. A lot of people wouldn't do it because, look, I'm telling you, we go to the gym. Go to war, we have to go to the gym at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
All right? What I'm saying to you is there's a balloon payment for that, okay? In Israel, everyone has to go into the army.
That's right.
For a certain amount of time.
For
They don't do that here,
survival.
right?
For survival.
Exactly, but they don't do that here.
Because no one's lobbing bombs into our
I
country,
understand
Rich.
it, but what I'm saying to you is because they don't do that here, there's a consequences for that.
The
Okay?
consequence is survival, Rich.
No, the consequence. I'm talking about here.
There's only 7.5 million
No,
Jews
but
in
what I'm saying,
Israel.
if you don't do that here, right, there's a consequence for that, meaning that people are going to burn down the flag. A lot more people will burn down the flag
Well, that's the
here
beauty of
than in
freedom.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's
Right.
a balloon payment for that.
So you and I know we're in agreement. If Iran and some of those other yo-yo countries, and I'm gonna call them out for what they are, they're
Yeah.
hate mongers. I'm not saying there's not good Iranians, right? But as a country, you're as good as your leaders. Which, folks who voted for Biden, smart move. You're as good as your leaders.
Right.
Their worldview, right? Is unhealthy and it's dangerous. Whereas in our country, we have the freedom, right? Can you imagine in Iran if the fringe group, so we had this pro-Palestine march on Washington, right? Queers for Palestine. Can you imagine that happening in Iran? But you and I agree on this one point. We support the right of countries to self-governance.
Oh, yes.
And
you
if
have to.
Iran wants to be some dark ages, treat women like third-class citizens, cover up their face, stone them if they cheat, stone them if they suspect they cheat, obviously we don't support that. But we support countries' rights to self-governance, which is what makes ours the most beautiful country in the world because we have freedom. However, when you throw a stone, when you lob a spear, or you send a rocket, now your freedom to be Iran is impacting our freedom to exist. And we did nothing different in World War II and September 11th than what Israel's doing right now. And they're going, hey, wait a minute, last time we sat back quietly, 6 million of our brothers and sisters got slaughtered. And by the way, guess what we did? We knew the Holocaust was going on, not to conflate stuff. As a country, we knew it was going on, and we took the passive approach. Guess what we're doing right now? We got our Secretary of State and our President saying to the Israeli government, take a pause. And they can't take a pause,
Well,
Rich.
okay, so that's
not there.
Well, first of all, like so what I was saying to you before, well, actually, we talked about this in other episodes. We don't mind our business, okay? So that's about right. We tell them to take a pause, but it's not up to us for them
I
to
agree.
take a pause, okay? So
I'm
the
with
thing
you on
is,
that
we're
one,
on the
Rich.
same page. Only thing that I'm saying is that when you execute something, you got to be honest about the execution, like what you're about to execute. You can't take a blind eye, like there's women and children, there's innocent people being killed on both sides. Okay, that's just the reality of it. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you the reality of it. Another reality of it is you have two religions that believe in a higher power that that believes that you're supposed to be a good person, supposed to be a good human being, supposed to have a good family. I know that if you look at the Quran, that's what the Quran is. You look at the Bible, that's how the Bible. They all say these good things, but yet we can't get along. And because we can't get along, innocent people are going to continually be in the crossfires of this. That being said, right, Israel, yes, they don't have a choice but to defend their people, especially after everything they went through already. Absolutely, they have to, they have a choice to defend their people, okay? And the problem but that comes with a balloon payment, like I told you. You're always going to have, that's just going to brew more terrorism. So what am I really saying here? What I'm saying is that sometimes you have to make decisions, even when, right, that it's in your gut, you have to harm innocent people. Sometimes you have to make a decision for your people. Your people, okay, Israel has to protect Israelian at all costs.
All costs.
Because
if the world hates them.
If they don't, who will?
That's right. The world hates them, Rich.
But at some point, all right, human beings need to find a way to get along with each other because we all want the same thing. We all
Not
want
Hamas.
Listen, Hamas. Listen,
Hezbollah, Hamas, Iran. They don't want the same thing, Rich.
Listen. So what I'm saying to you
Rich,
is,
they don't want the same thing.
look. So let me tell you something. This is where it gets a little tricky. All right, you have to. So what happens is that there's always going to be there's always going to be brainwashing. Okay, when someone's
That's why we're
brainwashed,
doing this podcast.
Right. when people are brainwashed, okay, they don't have to be a bad person. They just have to be brainwashed. They just have to believe in a certain thing. And when you believe in something,
if they get brainwashed into
you can say
spewing
that.
hate, they're a bad person.
Listen.
They're a bad person, Rich.
It doesn't matter. They're still human beings. What I'm
I
saying
know, but
is,
they're a bad human being.
well, listen. What I'm saying to you
Hamas is bad.
Listen.
All right, let's say at least on camera.
No,
We're
no,
in
no,
agreement. Hamas is bad.
Oh, first of all, you don't have to tell me Hamas is bad. Any kind of terrorist group is bad, but it's going to be. Only difference in what we're saying is any kind of hate is bad across the board. What I'm saying to you is it's a constant. You're never going to get rid of hate, just like you're never going to get rid of murderers. You're never going to get rid of rapists. And when I say you're never going to get rid of them, that's like you asking me, do I think that rape's bad? Absolutely, I think rape bad. Actually, yeah. But the difference is that I understand that you're never going to get rid of them.
But what's
thing you're going to do?
What's your point on that? Because you're
conflating
stuff.
All right, so listen.
Rich.
So my
You're
point
conflating
is,
stuff.
yeah. So my point to that is, if you can't get rid of it, right? Eventually, you have to find a way to bring down the percentages, the numbers of it.
That's what Israel's doing.
Right,
Every
okay.
every Hamas terrorist they kill, the numbers go down.
Right, but every Hamas person that they kill, unfortunately, one of them could be just an innocent person.
Happens.
That innocent person.
We did the same
okay,
fighting,
but what I'm saying,
defending our
that
country,
innocent
Rich.
person. This is where I'm finding it hard to try to explain this to you. When you kill an innocent person, you kill the father of an innocent family. The wife and the father. You have a kid that grows up and going to be raised by a terrorist group. So it's like anything else, right?
But your point isn't connecting because you're saying on one hand, Rich, you're saying Hamas is bad, and on the other hand, you say if you kill them, you make matters worse. So you're saying be passive?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you have to do what you have to do for now, but you have to figure out an end game.
They had an end game. Palestine and Israel were this close to signing a peace treaty. Right? When Donald Trump was in office and the Saudis were on board, there was a lot of Middle Eastern countries on board. And then something changed, right? And that's the core of it. Speaking of change, because we're getting short of time, we gotta look at this video real quick from the Cornell professor, right, Rich? Who, and I quote, said he's exhilarated and exuberance, right? He's feeling exuberance from the fact that the Hamas terrorists killed over 1,500 Israelis. Folks, take a look at what's happening on our college campuses. And by the way, my understanding is this gentleman, and I use that term lightly, still has his job. I guarantee you if I spewed hate like that, I'm unemployed real fast. Take a look at the video, and then Rich and I will talk a little bit about it. So, Rich, this dude, man, here's what I love about our country. I support his right for freedom of speech. I really do. That's what I love about our country. We're founded on free speech. That really was one of the core tenets. Free speech does have its limitations, right? We can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater when that's not there. Now we can't yell active shooter when there's no active shooter in the movie theater. Our limit to free speech starts with my fist and ends with your nose, right? I don't have a right to strike out at you first. However, what's your thoughts on a Cornell professor? I believe this was either the day after the Hamas attack and the Iranian attack, because they're always linked, or 2 days after, that he was exhilarated and feeling exuberant.
It's unsensitive. It's not, it's
on our campus.
Yeah, it's not sensitive. Mm-hmm. It's bias, mm-hmm. and it's flat out wrong. Mm-hmm. It's sending the wrong message. Mm-hmm. Again, so that's another form. I think he's brainwashed, mm-hmm. right? Some way, shape, or form, he's brainwashed in this. And
he believes in what he believes, Rich.
Right, but
he thinks you and I are brainwashed.
Right. Well, see, but it doesn't. That's why I said perception's a powerful thing, right? It's the mm-hmm. majority that counts, not the minority. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I could think. That's why this is so complicated, because it's the majority of whatever the majority of people think. That's what it is. I'm talking. Like when you were growing up, you used to I guarantee you got spanked, right?
Rarely.
Well, if you ever got spanked, up to I got spanked, right? Mm-hmm. That was okay then.
Mm-hmm.
Being spanked was okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cheating on you, like when people get cheated on with their spouse, right? That was bad back, but now it's like it becomes okay.
Yeah. I think
because
it's
perception.
It's part of the marriage ritual now.
Right. So it's perception, right?
Yeah.
So this was absolutely wrong, right? Anytime you hate on any kind of person, or what their nationality is, mm-hmm. or whether their religion is, it's wrong. I'm telling you, first of all, if everyone mind their business, we wouldn't even have this problem. But anyway, so yeah, he definitely should be fired, because that sends a message, that you can't do things like that. But across the board, it's not bias anymore. Everything's bias. Mm-hmm. So news is not supposed to be biased. News is supposed to just give you the news. That's it.
Just news.
But you have CNN, you have Fox, and they're both biased. Mm-hmm. And when you have a big group like that, like something powerful like CNN, mm-hmm. and you have Fox, right? Mm-hmm. When they become biased, what you just did was you brainwashed 50% of the people, mm-hmm. and you brainwashed the other 50% of the people. Mm-hmm. And when you have people split down the middle, mm-hmm. you lost power. We're not united anymore.
Well, we're definitely not. And this is making it worse.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's the whole point of this, too, by the way. So you looked at me, you asked me if I was in for Hamas. This is what I'm going to tell you, mm-hmm. okay? And I'm going to look at you and I'm going to tell you this. As Americans, right, we are split down the middle right now. Mm-hmm. What's more powerful, being united or split down the middle? You tell me. What's more powerful? Well, more powerful is united, but more impactful is separate.
Okay, well, let me tell you.
Because we're seeing the impact of being separate, right, Rich?
Right, but what I'm saying to you is that when you're united, we can move mountains when you're united. Mm-hmm. There's nothing we can't do when we're united. When we're divided.
And now you know why we're divided.
When we're divided, you know what happens when you're divided? You can't. You just went to displacement zero. You can't move forward.
Here's what happens when we're divided.
You can't move forward when you're divided. Can you give me that?
Yeah.
You can't move forward when you're divided.
And it's intentional.
That's hard to move forward. Yes.
It's intentional.
Right.
It's about keeping us talking about everything but our government is up to some shady
It doesn't make a difference what it is. But what I'm saying is,
no,
when
it does.
we're divided,
because the talk then becomes on this instead of what the underlying issue is, which is this is another power grab.
Right.
This
But
is a
okay.
big
Well,
power
can you give me
grab.
this? So when you're divided, you can't. It's hard to move forward when you're divided. Can you give me that?
Impossible. I agree with
Impossible.
you.
All right. So even if you believe or I believe
Mm-hmm.
that another country is horrible, like okay, you think that you don't like the ideas of Iran, right? So
Yeah, I
as a
would never
country,
want my daughters to be over in Iran,
okay. So this is what I'm saying.
or my sons,
Okay.
for that matter.
But if they're united,
Hmm.
okay,
Which they're not.
well, the Muslims are. I'm telling you, they're becoming.
Nah,
united.
there's two factions there too, and the one faction that speaks up gets the shit kicked out of them, and the other faction that's basically in power.
Okay. Well, then I won't even use them. Any other country that's united, all right, even if we don't like their ideas, they will become more powerful than us because we cannot get along with our own people. We have to figure it out. That's what I'm saying. So we have to figure out this guy, the guy that you just put on TV,
He's an idiot.
he's terrible. I'm telling you, he doesn't even know that he shot himself
So
in the
what
foot.
would be the appropriate thing to do? It would be appropriate for Cornell to say,
Yeah, you're fired.
you know what, or
Can't
we
support
support
it.
his right to free speech, but as a university, we couldn't be further away from that.
No,
We
you
don't
have to.
support
Yeah,
it, right?
well,
But it doesn't happen. We got one last little clip to pop in. You
All
know,
right.
here's one of the pro-Palestine marches in New York City right after Hamas did their wonderful acts of terror. And I can't remember. We'll see for sure. It's either Fox or CNN. Reporters just interviewing one of the people at the protest, and she talks about that she feels that the attack from Hamas was justified. The reporter said, even though there were innocent children and women. It's so funny how it's almost like men's lives don't matter, right? But if it's a child or a woman, we're pissed. And she said, yeah, absolutely. So take a look at that one, and then, Rich and I'll come back and we'll wrap up.
Come step on it. Come. Step on it.
All right, Rich. So, at this point, probably, this could almost be a two-parter. I have a feeling we'll revisit it again.
well, how do you feel about that last video, Jeff?
Well, to me, it's two things, Rich, is, back in the day, right, hatred used to be like sneaky and secretive and behind closed doors. And the mask of anti-Semitism is off now. And now we know. We have people just coming out so proactively about it. And the interesting thing to always remember about our Jewish brothers and sisters, it isn't just 2023. We're looking historically that this is a people and a religion that has been hated for centuries. And it's, to my knowledge, one of the few religions or cultures that was almost wiped off the face of the earth. I mean, that's just amazing. And, when you look at the Holocaust, you go to the Holocaust Museum, and there's this wonderful statement that said this can never happen again. And yet in our own country, Rich, in our own country, right? I understand, I agree with you, right? It's a very complicated, convoluted thing that's going on between Jews and Muslims right now, regardless of where people land, between Israel and Palestine. It's really complicated. It's not black and white, right? You and I are on the same page there. The however is anybody who's just a human being can't support how Hamas, regardless of what their motivation was, say Hamas was 100% correct, Rich, like, Israel, you bastards, right? You're doing all this shit. You were wrong. You're the demon. You're the devil. You're a tyranny. You're white power. And trust me, there's a lot of things behind that, because if they were mostly people of color, we wouldn't be having this debate. But a lot of white folks. are Jews, or a lot of Jews, I should say, are white folks. But here's what ends up happening. Uh, a kind person would say, no, that's not how you do it. You go to the negotiating table. You get the countries together. That's why the UN is available, and they suck right now. And you talk about let's resolve this as compassionate human beings. Not happening. So as soon as Hamas started throwing the rockets and they've been doing it for decades, Israel said, you know what, we're done. We're absolutely done. And I support people's rights in our country. You and I don't have to agree with it. We don't even have to agree all the time. It's beautiful. It creates good dialogue. But when anybody advocates for overt violence and hates somebody because of the God they celebrate, what I don't think most people understand, Rich, is this anti-Jewish sentiment, this anti-Semitism. Guess who's next? Guess
Of
who's
course,
next? By these fringe groups. Christians are next.
Listen, it's always going to be someone
Christians
next. There's
are
always,
next.
And then there's going to be someone after that.
So we got to kill it now. We got to kill it now.
So look, yes, the Jewish, first of all, I think whether it's Jewish or whether it's Chinese, anytime a terrorist attacks their country, okay, they have to defend themselves, okay, obviously, all right. The only thing I was saying to you was that I'm telling you, you got to say what you're doing though. You can't do it and then say, oh no, you do that knowing that there's a heavy price for that. You do that knowing that it's going to weigh heavy on you because sometimes, just like you said, there are going to be innocent people who are going to die. There's all going to be innocent kids going to die. But you have to know that going through, because if you don't do that, then you're lying to yourself.
Now,
Okay?
can
That being said,
throw this to you quick though.
yeah, but that being said, you have to defend your country.
That's right.
Israel has to defend its people. If it doesn't defend their people, no one else is going to defend their people.
That's right.
And this is what I'm saying. There's always going to be a terrorist group. All right. And for the terrorist group, listen, I'm not mad at you. I think what you're doing, I think it's wrong what you do, because it's a wrong way of handling it. I understand that you believe that it might be right, but I think that's a wrong way of handling it, and you'll never ever be accepted by the world. You'll never depend, even if, like you said, even if you are right, even if we figured out, we read the history books and what you did, we had not being right. Even if the reason why you're doing it, we understand that the reason why you're doing it is right, the way you're thinking, but executing to terrorize people is a wrong thing to do. It's just not. It's never going to be right. And what I'm saying is, any terrorist group around the world, all right, no matter how right you think you are, you'll never be accepted by the world.
Remember,
the
you
world,
can't negotiate with terrorists.
Right. Well, the thing is that this, right? The reason why terrorists work is because we have rules and we have laws, they don't abide by those rules and laws.
Who let the terrorists live in their country? Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and even to some degree Gaza. Right? If we have terrorists living in our country, which we do, and we had homegrown terrorism, which was the Ku Klux Klan, we're responsible then for their actions. Let me throw this out as sort of a final word, just because we're really deep into it today, because it's such a complex topic. Our own president hasn't even said to Russia, hey, Putin, why don't you take a little pause so we can get some humanitarian aid in there? Hey, Zelensky over in Ukraine, why don't you take a little pause? Take a pause. Why don't you both take a pause? Right? Our own country, Rich, has not asked Russia or Ukraine for a ceasefire. We haven't attempted to broker it, right? And yet here, see how we've come full circle? Yet our own country now is asking Israel to take a pause.
Oh,
and
they're
once
doing that
again,
for political, but that's political reasons.
but once again, what I'm saying is, and this is where we got to wrap, is for whatever reason, maybe even our own government, and I believe it exists, quite frankly, in our own government, anti-Semitism travels really high and far in our own country, and the mask of Jewish hate is now completely off. And we're going to find out more and more. Am I saying Joe Biden's an anti-Semite? I don't know, right? So I'm not going to say yes or no. But I do know that as the leader of the world, for him to conflate in his speech that during his speech he said There's too much Arab American hate. That's what he said when he was talking with his Israeli brothers. And he may be right. There may be any of it's too much, right? You and I'd agree with that. But you can't conflate it. You can't bring it up at the same time.
Right.
And you notice what happened? When Black Lives Matter was marching, those commies, and they are, that's exactly what they are. You notice the leaders of Black Lives Matter, you would think they would want to come out when a group is oppressed, and Jews have been historically oppressed for years. 6 million of them died. That's the ultimate in oppression. You would think the leaders of Black Lives Matter would come out and say, our Jewish brothers and sisters, we stand with you. But you know who they stand with? They don't stand with the Jews. Tells you everything you need to know about them. Probably a different episode. So on that happy note, Rich and I brought you some powerful stuff today. And as we always try to do, Rich and I think we do a really good job of it, we want you to think. We want you to use this. Rich is right. An argument isn't about feelings. An argument is about facts. And here at Bros Who Know, we try to present you with as many facts wrapped with some of our feelings, right? Rich asked me how I feel. I asked Rich how he feels. And this is good stuff. But this is a podcast you want to share with others. And I promise you we'll be bringing some more to you. And there's going to be some more content about this topic because this topic ain't going away anytime soon. But on behalf of the Dark Night of Podcasts, Richard Yancey, I'm Dr. Jeff LeCure. This has been another wonderful and provocative episode of Bros Who Know. Understand that Rich and I, we do love you. We care about you. We also want you to stay safe. Until next week, be good.